Okay, here's our 18 by 24 panel. They want a 2-inch white border the whole way around. I will clean it up a little bit if I need to, which I probably will have to. Here is my Sanderling right here. It is about life size. And then here is my wave back in here. It sets back a little bit, and then all the gravel, and then right here is my line. I just roughed in things where they're going to be because I will be making changes in the painting, even compared to what I try to do is a very refined working thumb with the combination of pictures that I'm going to be working from. So they're all my own photos. I don't have to worry about that. And let's go ahead and get started and start blocking this in. I'm just going to go right into speed painting just to get something done. Now that we have it all drawn out, I'm going to go ahead and start blocking in some of my shapes. I keep the gray pre-mixed. It's a neutral gray, but it's a gray only for this painting. And I'll keep it in a separate jar that I may use some other day for another painting. Blocking in my shapes, I will need several layers of paint just to start covering some of the pencil lines and other colors that I'm laying down, building up my glazing technique. Right now I'm just trying to put in some sand and some strong textures with a fan brush, and then going back in and start creating some of my intricacies in the waves and the reflections off the top of the water where the rolling water is coming into the shore. Again, I often put down colors too dark and then lighten them back up with light glazings of whites, yellows, and maybe a raw sienna in this case, just to give that water the amber color that Lake Erie is known for along the shore. Keep in mind, when I made the texture with the fan brush, I made it way darker than it really needs to be. And the reason why is because I already know that I'm going to be going back over it with lighter colors. This will slowly bring the contrast of the very light background and the very dark sand I made with the fan brush much closer together. Now I'm being a little bit more specific and putting down just some sand clumps here and there of where all the texture is going to be. But I can refine all of this as I go. It just takes a while for the glazing method to cover up some of the areas if I do decide to change things. Now I'm just putting in some of the shapes of the sand where it's out of the water, building up my stones and starting to darken up a little bit of the shadow areas. And again, I could refine it over and over. As for the pebbles and other specific shapes, I do have to watch to keep painting within those areas over and over the exact same shape. Otherwise, it'll start to soften the edge and I'll lose the original shape itself. Now just putting in some of the scumbles of the sand where the water is running back into the lake. I'm slowly building up more and more as to how I see things. And as it progresses, I often step back in between clips just to see what's happening, whether I like something going on or I don't, and then it'll always give me time to make changes as I go. I will stray away from my reference if I need to, if I see something better happening on the painting itself versus multiple references pieced together. By painting in a little bit at a time, I'm working in all of my shapes. I can't get too excited about finishing up my waves and my gravel and my sand until I start the bird. This way I can see everything happening all at once. How the light is skimming across the pebbles and the sand itself. How it's reflecting off of the wave. The bird itself, where is the shadow going to be once I start putting my light values of direct light onto the bird? That will dictate where the shadow has to be. Blocking in the bird itself, I'll start with my darker colors and end with my light colors. And then I often will just white out the legs, for example, just to make sure I know where they are so I don't lose the drawing itself. Now scumbling in some of the lighter areas where the water is draining off, it is pretty much the same gray that I use for the water. This gives me excellent color unity, and it's also duplicating the water itself, which is actually the reflection of the sky. Now working in the shapes, I'm just going to keep on refining everything as I go. Now I'm blocking in a little bit more of where the shadow is going to be, and I'm refining it more and more. I'll go back in and do the little patches of moss and some of the pebbles later, but what I will do is slowly refine my shapes more and more. This will all depend on what things have to go darker and what things have to go lighter. Now I'm just blocking in the top of the wave because I want the bottom half of the wave to be a little on the translucent side where the sunlight is shining through, giving it that raw sienna, raw umber color. Keep on lightening up the sand just to produce the shadow indirectly. I really left the shadow as dark as it always was, but I'm lightening everything up around it just to actually produce the shadow. I will often also bounce around different parts of the painting to make sure other areas are dry before I start applying more paint. Acrylics dry fast to the touch, but often if you try and put on another layer of coat of paint too quickly, it will start to sludge around and slide around and you'll end up with a mess. This is where it's often tried to use as oils, where you try and mix them and you start running out of time, and what happens is you lose that blending ability altogether, but it just pushes around on your board. Working on the waves, I'm still refining, going back and forth, just deciding how I want my water to be. I will often take one master reference as far as the shape of the wave goes, but then I may look at other references just to see how the water is and what is happening within those waves. Sometimes I can pull out something interesting in one picture and add it to another, as long as it's not taking out of context, so to speak. Right now, lightening up some of the areas of the splashes, I'll just slowly refine them lighter and lighter. And then this is where I don't go over the exact same shape. I will often lighten up some areas of the shape and leave the others dark as they were from the beginning. This is what builds up subtle shadows and gradations within a shape. Using the glazing method is a very specific way of painting, but for me, it's the only way I'll ever paint, and it's the way I really like painting, as I can refine my painting as it goes just to see what happens, not to be locked in to painting strictly from a photo, that I will watch and see what things happen, and that gives me the chance to change things as I go. If you watch real closely as I'm painting the lighter values, especially the whites, they may darken as they dry. This must be changed as I go because I'm trying to lighten it up to a specific value, but it keeps going darker after it dries. This is something I have to also wait to see once the paint dries where it ends up. It might already be light enough, or I may have to take it lighter. This all depends on how much water and how much medium I have mixed into the paint. If I mix matte medium in the paint, it's going to look milky white at first, but as the matte medium dries, it dries to clear, so it's going to leave just a little bit of the paint behind, which will often make it appear darker than it was when it was wet. This is really happening on the waves because they're pretty much all light and medium grays with a lot of white and a little bit of blue. Making my splashes, I have different values of white mixed. I have an extra heavy white, I have a heavy white, a thin white, and then a transparent white. All of them will cover different values and consistencies and opacities of the white. Continuing on, I'm just refining over and over to bring my lighter values up to where I want them for the final touch. Moving on, I will often refine things. This will cause me to back up a little bit before I go forward, but it's often changes I feel have to be made. This particular painting was made for a statewide competition, and they often have specific requirements. One of them was the 2-inch wide white border that had to go all the way around the painting. It could be an overlay of matte, or it could be on the board itself. They have specific requirements, but different artists do it different ways. It also often has to be a specific bird or a specific animal. Sometimes they'll give you a multiple choice of maybe 3 or 4 different ones to pick from, but then it'll be up to you to portray that animal in a very specific environment that's often referred to as how that animal would be in its natural habitat. And also, did I mention that they often have to be a specific size or also an orientation? In this case, this particular contest allowed vertical or horizontal, but sometimes they are horizontal only or maybe vertical only. Now I put down the first side of the white and cleaned up the edge of my white border. I'm using the low tack frog tape that works perfectly on acrylic paints. I'm giving each side approximately 7 to 8 coats of white just to be able to cover good enough, and then allowing them to dry before I peel off the tape. I will often even give them a little bit of time in between each coat to make sure I don't sludge it around and it covers good, to give me a good opaque white border going the whole way around this 18 by 24 painting. Then you will be left with a 14 by 20 image size. I'm working on the bird now, but I went ahead and straightened out the edges of the painting for their final time, since I'm pretty well done with the very outside border. They even mention in this particular contest not to put anything of value in your painting within an inch of the border of the painting itself or the image size. This is often cropped off in the reproduction process once the painting is picked as a winner. Since I know I'm done with the outer edge, then I'm going to go ahead and concentrate on making my wave look a little bit more translucent than it did, and bring out that brown, and then go back in and lighten up some of the areas just to refine some of the shapes and some of the areas if I didn't like the values at first. At this point, I'm almost reconstructing the wave completely. I didn't think it had that color tone of what Erie looked like to me, because it often brings up the sand on the shoreline, which is a man-made rebuilt construction of the shore itself due to often winter damage all winter long. Each spring they rebuild the entire Presque sandbar just to be able to put it back where it was after the storms and crashing waves carried it away. From what I understand, it's a multi-million-dollar operation every spring to rebuild some of the beach areas that the hard winter storms washed out due to the wave action and wind action. Erie is a very shallow lake, so the waves get pretty turbulent on shore, and there will often be signs all over the shoreline, "Do not walk on the ice dunes," because they could literally be floating above the water. You walk on the ice, it doesn't necessarily mean the ice is touching the water on the underside of the ice. It could be a 5 or 6 foot drop until you either hit sand or ice cold water. Now this is just a typical day where it's still bringing up a little bit of that silty sand, but these waves are usually no more than a foot or so on any given day. And they'll still have that nice translucent color, that just slight amber that's not kicking up much sand. However, on a more turbulent day or if the waves are crashing due to a storm, then the water starts to take on a chocolate milk look, which is completely different than what I'm trying to do today. The chocolate milk effect would probably not even allow light to pass through it. It would be very opaque and very dark. Putting on my final touches of the bird, I'm just refining some of the shapes and values that I'm trying to shade the feathers the way they're supposed to be and also put them in a direct sunlight or a direct shadow at the same time. I personally like to keep those fuzzy soft edges on the feathers. To me, they look more lifelike. I don't really like a perfect white edged feather. It starts to take on a plastic look to me. But this is just individual artist preferences and how they like to portray their subject. Now putting in the final touches. This is clips that are maybe 45 minutes to an hour at a time. And just to let you know that I am standing back for hours or maybe even days if I have the time, looking at the progress I'm making and then deciding what final touches I feel I should make. I'm signing it right now and just putting in the final touches, cleaning it up. Then I'll put on my gel coat, seal it, and then varnish it, and that is it. Once I do that, I am done. I hope you enjoyed this painting. Until I see you out in the field or back at the studio, thanks for watching.